Apparently we all have blush blindness. And if you have not heard of blush blindness yet and you're wondering what the heck is that, it is the latest phrase that the internet has invented to make women feel bad about themselves. It is basically the suggestion that you're wearing too much blush and one day you're gonna look back on it and be mortified that you did that. And there are other versions of this phrase. We've got eyebrow blindness. I've seen money piece blindness, you know, the like bright highlights in the front of your face. Like any beauty trend, the internet has coined blank blindness for any time you're maybe doing it too much or something that you might look back on and laugh. And the first time I heard this was with eyebrow blindness, and I thought it was hilarious because I was definitely a victim of that. I will show you a photo of like my college eyebrows. But at the time, that's how everyone was wearing their eyebrows. And like I look back and I just laugh and I think that's funny. And so I found the term hilarious at first. But the more I've seen it pick up speed, I've been starting to feel a little bit off-put by it. And I couldn't quite figure out why at first, but I think I figured it out. And I want to talk about it today in Makeup Musings. So if you missed my last video, I did just move. This is my second video that I'm filming in this new space, so we're trying a different angle. I'm filming with mostly natural light today. I do have to like supplement a few spots to like fill. Let me know your thoughts though. As always, all of the products will be listed in the description box because in this series, I don't end up talking too much about the makeup. We're more so focusing on the topic. So everything will be listed with links, with shades, all of that. But my plan for today's look is actually to lean into blush blindness. Like we're gonna do it on purpose. I wanna do a very flushed look. I have a pile of pink in front of me. Everything I own that was pink makeup, I threw into this pile and we're gonna use all of it. We're gonna just like go overboard because why not? So let's talk about blush. I know it will not come as a surprise for me to say that blush is huge right now, but I wanna quantify it a little bit and I have some figures that are really fascinating, especially considering how popular blush was last year. It's considerably more popular this year, which was interesting for me because I mentioned in my beauty predictions video for 2024 that I thought we had reached the peak of blush. I thought it was going to be coming back down and we were going to start focusing on bronzer and other products, but that has not been the case. Blush has exploded in 2024. So I was reading an article from Women's Wear Daily, and not just an online article. I have it right here in print. And they say, blush isn't just having a moment, the category's unrelenting growth is defining the moment. They say data from Spate indicates blush receives more than 637,000 US Google searches monthly, while blush-related TikToks garner 56.1 million weekly views, which is a 219% increase versus last year. So blush has not gone anywhere, it has only grown. Women's Wear Daily also just posted pretty recently an article about blush sales on Amazon specifically, so just zooming in quickly on that retailer alone. They say it's been growing since 2023 and raked in $58.9 million in revenue on Amazon in the last 12 months, growing at a rate of 39% year over year. They also say that outpaces makeup's growth of 25% during the same period, so blush is definitely having a moment. And the brands that sell blush, and specifically a popular, viral, buzzed about, best-selling blush, are winning. You know the milk jelly blushes, the ones that I actually didn't like that much? Well, they were a very popular product, as you probably know, and a representative from Milk said they were the brand's most successful launch to date. Now, they didn't necessarily quantify what that meant in terms of sales or this or that, like how they were measuring most successful launch. I'm assuming that's sales within a certain date, but I think that speaks to the power of blush right now. Okay, also, fun fact I also wanted to throw in here about the Milk Jelly blushes was that they were also ranked, if we're talking statistics here, they were the #2 most viral product on the internet behind the Huda Beauty Easy Baked Powder in Q1. That ranking is determined by EMV, so earned media value, basically people talking about the product without being paid to talk about it. That was the second most talked about makeup product on the internet in Q1, and it shows because Apparently it was the brand's most successful launch. And Saie is another brand that's really doing numbers with their blushes. You know, the Dew blushes, I really love the Dew blushes. Saie told the New York Times that they sell a blush every 30 seconds. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, how many blushes is that? Well, I was also reading that Saie told Business of Fashion that 30% of their overall sales come from the Dew blushes alone. So basically, it's blush mania. It's been blush mania for a few years now. Every brand is selling blushes. They're doing a ton of, like a big bulk of their profits are coming from blushes. We're getting new shades, shade extensions. We're doing different formulas, cream, liquid, powder. Even these days, now we're kind of seeing like these like blush drop hybrid type things, which I would still categorize under liquid blushes. But again, I feel like brands are doing everything possible to get us to buy more blushes any way necessary. Okay, this, by the way, the Makeup by Mario cream bronzer stick. I mentioned this in my last video. I can leave it linked down below. In that video, I was testing out this. This is the new shade Fair. I was testing out, speaking of blushes, the Rode Pocket blushes. So I'll have that linked, but I have used this quite a few times since that video and I am loving it. It's so interesting because I have this same shade in their liquid version and I don't like it. It's way too sheer, but this exact same shade in the cream is perfect for my skin tone at least. But let's dip into the star of the show. Obviously, we have to do a bright pink blush. This is from Tower 28 and it is the blush in the shade Dream Hour. And I feel like these shades of pink specifically have really defined the like blush era of the last few years. This has been the color. And I was super into this shade of pink, especially when my hair was a little more brown. I feel like I said this a million times, but now that I'm wearing my hair a little bit lighter, I'm more into peaches. It's really about like finding your shade of blush, but this particular shade of pink, every brand was doing it. It was like this blush, this was that girl. So naturally we're gonna use it today and I'm wanting to do just a very flushed look. So we're gonna go actually quite high and I'm gonna do even some like draping into the eyeshadow. I pulled a pink eyeshadow to tie in with this. Like we're just blushing it up, okay? So what I find really interesting about the blush explosion is that in some ways it seemed rather inevitable. You know, trends ping pong back and forth. You know, they're very cyclical, but if anything, I view them more like a pendulum. So when one thing is hyper trendy, inevitably we're gonna get the opposite and it's just gonna, you know, ping pong back and forth. And so I would say it's kind of been a while since we've seen such bright and prominent blush. So it makes sense that like people are having fun with it. We're wearing a lot of blush, you know. When I think back to the last decade or even prior to that, the 90s, early 2000s, blush looked so different. Not only the way people were wearing it, but also the formulas, and we'll get into that. But blush used to be a little bit more subtle on the face. You wouldn't necessarily be able to like point it out the way that you could today. Like you can prominently see the blush. It was a lot more blended in, or maybe it was more like a warm bronzer, kind of like looking like both, or even, you know, early 2000s blush shades, if you were even wearing blush, maybe it was a bit more muted, a bit more brown. Like I remember there was a time I didn't really want you to see my blush that much. I wanted it to be nude. And so it's only been in recent years that blush has been so punchy and bold and in your face. And for that, I really like it. It's a twist. People have been experimenting with colors that previously maybe we kind of shied away from. These are much brighter. But even when we're thinking about formulas, that's another conversation that's interesting surrounding blush. Obviously, different finishes and formulas have existed before. I'm not suggesting that they didn't, but there was a time that it was a lot harder to find liquid cream blushes. Like it really was all about powder for a while there. The shades used to be a lot more limited, like you didn't have as many options. And now it's options galore. Any shade you want, any finish you want. Do you want it matte? Do you want it shimmer? Do you want it dewy? What do you want? They've got it. It exists and every brand has it over and over and over. You want purple, you want pink, you want orange, like they're out there. And I think that has played a role in this as well, that people are wanting to experiment and, you know, they're just wearing more blush. And when it comes to blush blindness, do I think there will be a time that we look back and we kind of laugh at ourselves? Sure, but I feel like that's part of the fun. Even a relatively recent example, I feel that way about highlighter. Like, you could say we were highlighter blind 10 years ago, but I kind of love that. There's something so fun and nostalgic about joking with my friends about how we wanted to like see our highlighter from across the street. Like, I wanted you to see my highlighter before you saw me. And those were the times. And maybe you still love highlighter, maybe you don't wear it anymore, but in my eyes, that's part of the fun of these trends, is seeing what sticks, seeing what is gonna work well for you, what is not. And I think the conversation around trends in general, whether it's with your eyebrows, with your blush, with your interior design, or your fashion choices, whatever form of trend we're speaking on, I think there's definitely nuance in the trend conversation. Plenty of cons. I think it contributes to overconsumption. I think it leaves people confused about their own personal style, or even not necessarily on a journey to even find their personal style because they're just copy and pasting what someone else is doing. It leaves us maybe choosing things that don't work for us. I think that so much with makeup trends, not everything is going to suit our individual faces, so trends really can't be one size fits all. And this could be an entirely separate video about the impact on trends, but when it comes to wearing heavy blush or trying feather brows or any of these other topics that have been deemed a culprit of blank blindness, I think there's also a piece of the trend conversation that is positive, because now we're seeing people again try maybe blush shades that they wouldn't have imagined would suit them maybe 10 years prior. You're trying things, you're seeing what works, you're attempting different blush placements. Are you doing boyfriend blush? Are you doing sunburnt blush? Are you doing lifting blush? Are you doing bright pink, bright orange, purple? You know, no one is born knowing their personal style. It is an evolution. It takes a lot of effort and intention to figure out what works for you, what you like. And I think with some of these trends, like wearing a lot of blush, people are just trying it out and seeing if it works well for them. I am now going to layer up a second blush, and I'm gonna take a lighter pink. This is like kind of a similar shade, sort of. They're like in the same family. I feel like if you took this and added in a bunch of white, or to like lighten it up, you would get this. Like, this is just a desaturated version of this, basically. So I'm gonna take this. This is so old. This is the CoverGirl Cheekers blush in the shade Pink Candy. And I'm gonna use this kind of as like a mid-tone shade, basically to just like fill in here. And then even to go over that a little bit, but then we're gonna do pink highlighter too. Like, everything is going to be pink today. But what has left me very bummed about the blush blindness conversation is that I can definitely see how in the beginning it was funny. And it is funny, and you know, I get it. But I think it has so quickly turned to a way to insult people, or to make women or anyone who wears makeup feel bad about wearing too much makeup, or participating in a trend, or trying it out. And it's like, yeah, people are wearing a lot of blush. Everything is blush right now. Blush is the best-selling product. Blush is being pushed in our faces. Yeah, people are gonna be wearing a lot of blush. I can't even count the number of times in the last like month since this phrase was invented that I have seen the video of someone, and maybe the video was not even about makeup, but the comments will be like, you have eyebrow blindness, you have blush blindness, which is, first of all, a wild thing to tell a complete stranger that didn't ask, but also maybe they like their makeup like that. Makeup doesn't have to be flattering. Makeup washes off at the end of the day. I just don't think we need to be thinking that far ahead, if I'm being so honest. Like, is there a possibility you will regret wearing that much blush? Maybe, but like, that is not a problem for you today. Enjoy the blush today. And I don't know if maybe the reason we're so hyper-focused on this is because we have so much more of a digital footprint these days. You know, when I think back to like my mom growing up, I don't think they were ever in like the 70s or 80s like, oh, do you think one day we're gonna have hair blindness and think, why were we wearing our hair this big? No, they were just doing it because it was fun. And I don't know if it's maybe because now we have so much more access to photos. We're taking more photos. We have access to them because they exist digitally versus in print. Perhaps even just the speed of these trend cycles, things come in and out so quickly. I would imagine some of these factors play a role, but at the same time, it bums me out. I think it takes away some of the fun of makeup to just be so hyper aware of perhaps regretting it one day. Like, if you do, that's fine. That's That's part of the fun. I think it's also confusing and unfair messaging that women are told, you know, this is the hottest new blush, you need this blush, buy this blush, try this blush technique, do this, do that. And then when they do, they're told, no, that's actually embarrassing. You shouldn't be wearing that much blush. You're actually blush blind. Like, pick a lane. We're super pink. The highlight I was using was the Patrick Ta highlight that I don't love so much, if I'm being honest, but this is the shade Baby. And I felt like this shade really tied it in. I'm just wearing the powder because the cream is way too sticky. Again, I already am like sitting here with my fan. I'm like, we can't put that cream on my face. It will be just sliding off. So just the powder, but a little bit of that. I think this is looking really pretty. Now I want to go to eyes, and I picked out these pink shadows that kind of tie in the blush. So this is the Kaja stack in the shade Glowing Guava. And then just taking the matte shade and dusting that through the crease. Also, this blush look is feeling very Sabrina Carpenter-esque. That's another one I always hear people like, oh, Sabrina Carpenter has blush blindness. Again, who cares? Her blush looks cute. Ooh, actually, we're gonna go back to the powder blush to drape this in a little bit. So I'm gonna take this in the crease and draw it out to where the blush is out here. So the pink kind of just becomes one, you know? We're gonna fade that in a little bit. Do you see the difference? Like this is with, this is without. Both are cute, but this I think leans into the over-the-top pink look that we're playing with today. And again, like this is the fun. Like, am I blush blind or am I just having fun with pink blush, you know? I don't really do a ton of blush draping like this normally, though I love it on others. It's just not a look I've really played with that much, but I am liking this. There's something like kind of fun and editorial about it. But next I'm gonna take the middle shade in the stack, and this is, it's one that if you just kind of like tap it on like this, you get just like a sparkle for the most part, which is kind of what I want here. I don't want too much, but I want to add a little bit of a glittery sparkle. I'm also gonna wear a burgundy mascara. We're going so pink. This is the CoverGirl Eye Enhancer. The shade is called Burgundy Brown, and this was another one you saw me using in that last video. I've been liking this. I think I still prefer a brown mascara just for myself. I think this shade would be stunning on green eyes. Like a burgundy, I think makes green eyes pop so much. And I like this on myself, but I still prefer a brown. Also, this formula is a little too wet for me. I feel like it just unfolds my curl, but the color is really pretty, and I think it's perfect for this look. I hope, if anything, you still feel empowered to have fun with blush or do a trend that is not trendy or not cool anymore. Like if you still want to wear Instagram brows or bold highlight or even like feather brows, whatever it is, you are not eyebrow blind because you choose to do your eyebrows in a way that makes you feel confident, in a way that you like. I don't want anyone to feel shame for the way that they're wearing their makeup. Makeup is playful, it is fun, and it just feels so silly in my eyes to think about how much, almost dropped that, but how much blush trends have been like thrust upon us with, again, every brand launching blushes, every trend being about blush, and then almost immediately after being told, no, you're wearing too much blush, and that is so embarrassing. It's like whiplash. And I get that. Again, I think this funny meme of blush blindness initially started as a comical thing. Like it's supposed to be a way to maybe laugh at ourselves or think about it in the moment. But so quickly I've seen it turn to something that shaming people for experimenting and playing with makeup or trying trends. And I'm not about that. Okay, so for lips, obviously we're gonna go pink. Everything is pink today. So I chose this one from CoverGirl. This is their Outlast lip stain, and the shade is called Admire. It's a really pretty pink, and so we'll start with this. And now the lip gloss, where'd it go? Okay, here it is. I don't normally love this gloss, but the color seems perfect for this. It's Patrick Ta Say Less. The formula is so like thick and milky. I'm like, you need almost none, just a little dot. Okay, here's our very blush blind look, adding a little more powder because again, it's a million degrees, but I hope if anything, you still feel very empowered to do your makeup however you choose to do it. Whether, you know, be blush blind, be eyebrow blind, like that is a problem for your future self. Maybe you will look back on that and laugh, but like that is in the future. Enjoy your makeup today without fear of judgment. Like, just have fun with it. It's just makeup. It washes off at night. Even this, I'm like, is this my favorite look I've ever done? No. Do I think it's my most flattering look? No, but makeup doesn't have to be flattering, and I'm having fun with it, and I loved doing it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll have my full makeup musings playlist linked down below, and I will go ahead and see you in my next one. Bye.